Hello, Rex friends. I apologize for the long delay between work, which I'm extremely grateful for, and personal stuff. I've just not had as much time to devote to this channel. However, it's still a labor of love and it's still something I enjoy doing. So I'm hoping that this video will in some way make up for my absence. Now, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to create a text adventure language. That's right, language. And it's hopefully going to be fairly easy. If not, well, we're still going to learn something about Rex and how incredibly powerful it is when working with strings. For some reason, it's really good at that. And I have tried this project in the past with varying degrees of success. The last time was with Go, and that was a lot of work. In fact, it scared me a little bit, and it's probably responsible for some of the gray hair that came in as well. However, Rex is not Go, and so maybe this will be a little bit easier. If not, we're going to at least see me struggle through writing some code, which is quite a bit different from my normal polished content. And yeah, well, I could talk all day, but I don't want to, and I know you don't want me to, at least ramble all day. So let's hop over to Notepad and kind of figure out what the language is going to look like, and then we'll start coding it. Let's do it. All right, well, here is the basic syntax I had for the original engine I wrote, and it's not all that complicated looking. In fact, it's actually kind of nice. However, I wanted to do some improvements here, and I thought this might be a really good opportunity to do that. You can see that I'm probably going to simplify the ask and the show a little bit. That just seems really complicated, but we may end up going back to something like this. And then scene management. Uh, it's not overly complicated. However, what I've been thinking about since then is a way to denote my starting scene and my ending scene. That way we kind of know where we are in the game. And we also kind of want to have some titles to these. So I think the way to do that, and I could be wrong, is if we come over here, instead of doing scene like this, we're going to use an ampersand in order to detect the scene. And then for our start scene, it will be start. For our end scene, it will be this. And for every scene in between, we'll just give it a name, which will actually be an action, really. So examine underscore cell. And this is technically a new scene. So I think we'll start, and I think this is where we're going to start. We're just going to see if we can detect the first scene, the last scene, and maybe one scene in between. And once we got that, then we'll start adding some in-between stuff here. Like we will figure out how we're going to show text, and then also figure out how we're going to handle conditions. All right, let's jump over to code and start setting this up. All right, well, we're over in our VS Code editor in all of its smushy goodness because I have to have it small in order for everything to kind of fit together well. And you can see that I've already taken the liberty of kind of scaffolding out how I want this to look. Of course, I am a comment junkie, so I'm going to build out a nice little flower box here. It's going to have all the pertinent details, including a little bit of a change log here. Now, one of the very first things that we're going to have to do in order to execute this, in order to make this work, is we're going to have to accept some input. And we're going to use arg for that. And what we're going to do with arg is we're going to accept one exact argument, which will be game file. And we'll save that. And just to make sure it's actually working, we're going to spit that back out like so. make sure that we're actually pulling that in. So let's go over here. We're going to go to Regina, not Reg, Regina, and we're going to pass it the tailsmith file, or tailsmith.rex, and we're going to give it adventure.tsa. Don't worry, it's not that terrifying. We're going to press enter, and sure enough, Regina has picked up the fact that we are indeed passing through a file. That's great. That's our first hurdle right there, is we can at least pass it in there and see that we have a file. So the next thing we want to do, though, is add some initial checking. And in order to do this, what we're going to do is something very simple. We're going to do a very simple if statement. If game file equals, we're going to do a strict equal here, equals nothing, then we are going to do an exit, and I think we'll do 12 here. I believe 12 is the some type of file has happened here, and we're going to end that. But we also want to give some feedback, so real quickly we'll do a say here and say, yikes, I can't spell and you didn't include a file. Your game file is missing. And we'll get all the tabs lined up here. So let's go ahead and test out our script again real quick. We'll do this. I'm going to leave it off, of course, because we need to flag it. And yikes, your game file is missing shows up. What do you know? All right, that's good. Well, let's go and test the happy path now. We got included the file name. And of course, we don't get anything, and we exit with a 0. Successful. All right, let's clear our window here. And now that we got that going, we need a way to read in all the files. And this is not as complicated as it seems. In fact, it is one of the least complicated parts of this. Well, I shouldn't say that. There are parts of it that could be a little bit easier to do, but that's all right. What we're going to do here is we're going to check to see if the file exists. Now that we know that it was passed in, we want to make sure that it actually exists. And to do this, we're going to use stream, and we're going to pass in a command called query exist to it. And this is going to, since I'm on Windows, this is going to patch into the Windows file system. If you're on Mac or Linux, it will do similar stuff, plus a little bit more because it has to handle Unix paths. So if we're going to cast this, we're going to say status, probably worse names to do. We're going to call this stream function. We're going to pass it in game file C, which I believe stands for command, and then we're going to say query space exists, like that. And then from here, it's going to give us one of a few things. What it's really going to do is, if it doesn't exist, it's going to return an empty string, and if it does exist, then it's going to give us the full path back. And so that's kind of our test right now. So let's go ahead and do a check if, in fact, we're going to call this file exists. Yeah, I'll call it file exists. That's better. File exists does not equal empty, because remember, if it is empty, well, then it doesn't exist. So if it now we want to check if it does not exist, then I love how VS Code is sometimes a little overly helpful here. So if it doesn't exist, then we want to tell the customer here, yikes, the file doesn't seem to exist. Please check the path. And we're going to do some cat concatenation or some line continuation here, and try again. And we'll exit with a 12 again, because that seems applicable, and we'll end. So we've implemented a couple things here. Let's go ahead and comment it in here. The first is check if the game file has been passed in. And if it does, the thing we're going to do here is, oops, we're going to a different language there without those comments. We're going to check if the game file actually exists. So that's what we got going on so far. Let's go ahead and test these two paths here. So I've already got that stored in here. Adventure 1, we shouldn't get anything back because we know it exists. And that's right, it does exist. So we're good there. But what if I put a 2 here? Aha, now we've triggered the unhappy path. And just to demonstrate what's going on here again, if it does exist here, I'm just gonna say file status file exist, and that way we can see what it's returning the absolute path to this. So there you see it right there. It's returning the absolute path to where that file is on the system. And if I change it to something that's not there, well, it's just going to be an empty string. All right, moving on. I think the next thing we need to do is ingest the file and see if we can read the name, read each line through. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to close that out. And this time we're going to use stream again, and we are going to I have not had enough coffee. Yay! In this case, I think we're going to do something. Oh no, I have brain farted again. Well, this is unlike me. All right. We're gonna try to open the text file now that we've done our basic checks. Open the game file, and we're gonna once again use stream. We're going to cast this as OpenRC, and we're gonna say stream game file. Again, we're gonna pass in the command parameter, and this time we're going to go open read. Now, what this should do is it should open up the lines, and we should see some stuff going back. But in order to do that, we need to loop through the lines, and there's a special function in Rex called lines, and we just pass that in the. If I give it the right thing here, we're going to go game lines. We're going to pass in game lines. And then what we're looking for here is a greater than 0 because it's returning a length. So if there are lines, I think that should be good. And what we're going to do now is we're going to try to extract the raw line. So we're going to use, we'll just call it line, and we're going to use the line in method. And all that does is accept the game lines there. And we should be able to say line equals line at this point. And I think one of the things that we also need to do is at the very end of this, because we don't want this to loop forever, we're going to have to call stream again to close the file. Call stream. So we're going to call stream this time. We're going to give it the game file, and we're going to say that we want to close it. And I think that should work. Again, we're kind of doing this in real time, so I'm not really sure how it's going to turn out. I'm going to clear my palette though, and that did not work like I thought it would. What did I do wrong here? Let's see here. You know, maybe I need to actually call this darn thing. Do a call like this. So we'll call, we'll call stream game file. That's right. You know what? I think I see where I went wrong here. To game file. And then line in is also going to take game file. All right. I believe that will do it. I'm having the hardest time not going back to my ISPF commands. Yikes, that will be embarrassing. Let's see, I saved it. Aha, there we go. So we can now see, you probably can't see that. Let me bump up let me see how I bump up the, there we go. That kind of works. You can see now that we are reading through the first 3 lines of our amazing adventure game. If we come over here, you can see that those are in fact the first 3 lines there. Yay! Which means we are now at least reading through each of the lines that's in there. Now, this gives us a good starting point. We know that from this, I'm going to hide that terminal real quick. There we go. We know that we can parse through this, or at least run through each of the lines, which is a good starting point. So I think what we're going to do at this point is we're going to see if we can detect each of the rooms or each of the scenes. And to do that, I'm going to come back up here and I'm going to initialize some variables. Like so. Yay! And we're actually going to create a stem here. We're going to call this scenes. It's going to be empty, and then we're going to initialize a counter here. And do it like that. Now I just realized that someone's probably going to ask me the question that I get asked a lot. Why are you using capitals when you can do everything in lowercase? And the very simple explanation is it's personal preference, really. But also I like to do this because then I can quickly see what is my stuff versus what is Rex specific stuff. So we got scenes and we've got scene, and this is perfect. So we're going to come back down here. Yes, we will eventually clean this up, but maybe not in today's video. It depends on how long this thing gets here. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to say if left line has an @ symbol at it, then we're going to assume that this is a scene. Now, this is not the best as far as defensive programming, but I know what I'm passing into it, so I'm going to cheat a little bit. So if left left 1, because we want the very first piece of that, equals @ symbol, then we think we're inside of a scene. And I keep trying to do the wrong languages comments here. So I think what we'll do at this point is we'll take the scenes.0 and we will increment it by 1. I don't know what I'm doing there. Scenes.0 plus 1. So we're incrementing the number of rooms. And that is a very obvious piece of code there, so I don't think it needs a comment. And I think what we'll do now is we want to be able to capture the room, the actual name itself. So we're going to add that to the stems But here we are. Scenes. Kind of recast this really quick here. Scenes.0. And from here we will add this into a stem. So we're going to go scenes dot occur scene, because in Rex we can do this. This will just become a value, so that's going to be 1 in this case potentially, or not potentially, and then we'll call it name. We're going to do some subscripting here and call it name, and we are going to give it a stripped down version of the line, like such. Okay, so let's go ahead and test this out a little bit here. So what we're going to do is we're going to say there are total scenes, and then I think what we're going to do is we're going to do a loop. We're going to do a loop. Yeah, we're going to scenes.0. Excuse me, scenes.0. We will say, watch something go wrong here. This is usually where something bad happens, and you can see that my positivity and my my positivity is at an all-time high today. Let's see here, room name, oops, scene name. Very well, we got that. And we are going to do scenes dot I dot name. All right, let's bring up our terminal here again and see how we did. We have one scene, and the scene name is start. Woohoo! All right, that's awesome. That means it worked. Let's hook up another scene. We'll call this examine cell, and look inside the cell. Boy, that's clever right there. So okay, cool. Let's go ahead, clear our terminal, and let's run this again. We have 2 scenes, start and examine cell. So that seems to be working. And you can see that we didn't have to add a whole lot of code here in order to get this working, which is always great. We're just doing a very simple check here on the left. And I suppose we could check to make sure that it's not actually, because some fun person will think, well, I can just put an empty @ symbol there, and they would be right. But again, we're just having some fun here. So we've got that working. I think we've done quite a bit here. Right now we're at the 20-minute mark, which is probably the longest video I've ever done. How about we will close off for here today, and we'll continue on to this in another video. And if you've liked this content, you find it interesting, I sure hope that I've earned your subscription today. If you want to like as well, that helps the videos as well on the algorithm. And until next time, my name is Stephen with New to Z, and you know I had to say it. May the code be with you.